Meeting to order. Special counsel, please call the roll.
Director Barnes,
Here.
Director Guzman, Director Sloss.
Here.
Director Scholas.
Here.
Director Howard.
Here.
Director Antrim.
Here.
Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Before we get started with our presentation items, I think Hassan wanted to mention something.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to introduce one of our newest members, Jamie Parker, who just joined this is her second week, and she is our strategy and planning director. And as you all know, that position was filled by Tyler Antrop, and we're very excited about her and keeping the momentum going. So we will trust that she will take the lead in the next strategy.
Absolutely.
So,
We gave her the out today because she's only 2 weeks in, but she and I have spent some time talking, and I'm really excited to have you on board, Jamie. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Okay, today we are graced by the Graces. I'm sure they hear these jokes a lot, but I've never met Grace Vogel before, so I was thrilled to meet you today. I just wanted to make a quick introduction about green infrastructure. We have a lot going on, obviously, and green infrastructure has not been front and center on board agendas and discussions in quite some time. But of course, there are actual resources dedicated to green infrastructure and staff who are dedicated to green infrastructure. So we wanted to take an opportunity to kind of get an update because I realize I'm behind. There's quite a, I think, resurgence of interest. There's always been interest, and green infrastructure has been happening in this city for a while. I think last year with the Urban Water Plan at 10, we kind of saw it elevated again, and we see momentum. And so wanted to hear more about what's happening here and how we can think about collaboration and moving some things forward. And so with that, Grace, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's nice to meet whoever I haven't met yet. My name is Grace Vogel. I'm a landscape architect working in our environmental affairs department with our green infrastructure program for the last 4 years. I'd like to give you just an overview of that program, and then I'll hand it over to Ghassan to speak on future plans. It works. That's nice. Just for a little review, as we all know, green infrastructure mimics nature by soaking up and storing water, using vegetation, soils, and natural processes to create healthier urban environments. We know we need to work with nature, not just against it, to live well with water. Along with the city, we've been funding green infrastructure projects in flood-prone areas. That's why we've made a concerted effort to develop green infrastructure sites to help manage stormwater. These are some glamour shots of the selected demonstration projects. From left to right, top to bottom is our Holly Grove Green Line project. We have Sankofa Wetlands Restoration in the middle, the St. Joe Green Roof above our heads, the Dorothy Heights Charter School Stormwater Center in the bottom left, that was previously named Paul Havens, they renamed. Middle is a beautiful goldenrod blooming on the roof, and our Aurora Rain Gardens on the bottom right. All of these started from the initiation of our green infrastructure plan submitted to fulfill our second modified consent decree in 2014. The plan described the policies guiding development of the plan itself, description of the principal goals and objectives for green infrastructure, understanding of the approach towards achieving those goals, and establishment of performance measures. The Sewage Water Board has funded 4 different types of green infrastructure projects: physical demonstration projects, educational K-12 curricula, workshops for professionals, businesses, residents, and community groups, as well as technical tools and studies to further the knowledge and shared understanding of green infrastructure concepts. The SWBNO funded green infrastructure sites include Aurora Rain Gardens, Bayou St. John Demonstration Project, Central City Stormwater Lot, Dorothy Heights Charter School Stormwater Center, the Lower 9th Ward Earth Lab, Holly Grove Green Line Project, International High School Green Roof, Sankofa Wetlands Restoration, St. Joseph Street Green Roof, and water effectiveness in Broadmoor. Last year, we opened the latest GI site near Bayou St. John, which brought us to the 10 infrastructure sites we have today. In major rain events, we retain around 274,000 gallons of stormwater with our green infrastructure sites. Highlight our most recent projects, Bayou St. John.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How does 274,000 compute to inches per square foot, or how many square foot of an inch would that be, or is that You probably don't know that just right off the top
I
of your head.
don't know off the top of my head. I mean, it depends what size area. They're all speckled throughout the city. So, like we've heard, one of our biggest ones is down at the Dorothy Heights Charter School, and combined with the CELO project, also that was in the area, they have seen such a reduction in street flooding that that's the best result that I can ask for, rather than
But if we
try
had
to
something
figure
like,
out the inches. But yeah, I can calculate that later.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's some engineering.
think about
studies
some
in the
metric you can
works.
think about. So like this many gallons per square foot reduces an inch or something. I don't really know. That means more than the dimensionless.
Yeah, it's hard to find a quantitative metric to really make it tangible. And yeah, it also depends on what that rain event looks like and which little basin, comparatively to that inches of flooding. So it's definitely a metric everybody in the industry has been trying to figure out how to make more.
Well, I looked up an
understandable.
inch per acre one time. I can't remember what the number was now, but that's one
Inch
thing.
per
you can see.
acre.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
it tells you how many gallons.
Hmm.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Just a highlight of the couple latest projects. Bayou St. John Green Infrastructure Demonstration Project finalized design, produced construction documents, and broke ground in 2022 and was completed in 2023. The project utilizes and monitors 5 different types of green infrastructure, filtering stormwater runoff from surrounding streets. An additional 15 trees were just planted from our Maintenance Partners grant in February of 2024, as well as we have 3 trash receptacles funded by Keep Louisiana Beautiful grant. Those will be installed in the next month or so. These are some pictures from the recent tree planting, what it looks like right now. And then renovations to the Holly Grove Green Line project were completed in April 23, including a new shade structure, rain barrel, regrading, and tree planting. Irises donated by New Orleans Iris Society, and materials funded by Keep New Orleans Beautiful installed during our ribbon cutting in 2023, October. And some update pictures from last fall. This one has made a really nice impact in the community now that we've brought it back to life. Over the years, we've fostered relationships with partners focused on increasing our youth's access to education on sustainability. Our outreach efforts involve an array of events, from large community gatherings to in-school guest lectures and demonstrations, to reach as many K-12 students as possible. We also collaborate with UNO and Tulane for GI tours for their civil engineering classes. There are many avenues we seek out to provide the academic community with the tools we've built over the years, such as providing teacher training at the STEM Library Lab and with Ripple Effect, and community workshops with Waterwise, Gulf South, and Civic Studio. Soil testing, technical tools that we've developed. Soil testing was performed in the first stages of the GI plan years ago, and more detailed mapping is currently being gathered by Del Taurus in conjunction with the city to create a comprehensive dashboard of existing conditions. The New Orleans Resilient City tool came out of an earlier collaboration between SWBNO, the city, and Del Taurus, which we reinvested in the past few years to make a tangible outreach learning tool used in community workshops, allowing residents to lay out green infrastructure projects and estimate their effectiveness and costs. The GI Toolkit encompasses design standards and specifications for green infrastructure-related projects, as well as stormwater permit submissions, and is currently being revised by the Office of Resilience in conjunction with Dana Brown and Associates. These details will include standard engineering details needed to properly design and submit permits for the stormwater ordinance. This tool will help designers and architects and engineers calculate the required amount of stormwater storage needed on their project to conform with the stormwater code. The calculator will also include various calculations to assist in improvement water quality runoff from the project site. SWBNO has maintained a close working relationship with Safety and Permit since the establishment of the Stormwater Ordinance, assisting in reviewing permit applications for stormwater quality requirements, and have consulted on requested proposed changes to that ordinance. I've also consulted with Office of Resilience on the comprehensive green infrastructure maintenance manual being developed. Our demonstration projects were some of the first built and longest maintained, so there is a lot of knowledge to share. Additionally, we are participating in the creation of a dashboard of all current and planned GI projects around the city. The dashboard will include the GIS location and features of all green infrastructure projects, as well as project information such as capacity of stormwater managed or stored, native plants included in the projects, etc., Office of Resilience, UNO, NORA, and an extensive list of Greater New Orleans entities that have all built GI projects in the city are coming together to work on this project. SWBNO has a substantial presence in the Urban Waters at 10 roundtables that we just talked about, put on by the Greater New Orleans Foundation and Greater New Orleans Inc. and the Tulane Bywater Institute. That was to activate regional stakeholders and advance the next decade of urban water plan implementation. These talks brought together over 80 local entities working in stormwater management in New Orleans. We continue performing the measurable goals of the GI plan through upkeep and improvements to our physical demonstration projects, performing community outreach and stormwater data monitoring, and inspecting maintenance of the 10 existing installation projects. Out of the $2.5 million allocated to GI from the original plan, we have a little over $85,000 left, and that's all allocated under the remaining 2 contracts by St. John and Dorothy Heights, both in their maintenance phases. Grants. Over the past 3 years, I've plunged myself into grant writing, looking for new funding avenues. Through these applications, we were hashing out a list of projects and planning objectives looking forward. We proposed a greenway pedestrian corridor for EPA's Healthy and Resilient Gulf 21 that would enhance a blighted connection between our new Bayou St. John project and the Lafitte Greenway. I'm currently working on, and hopefully today, delivering completed contracts for our tree planting grant in collaboration with Healthy Community Services and Groundwork NOLA that will add trees to the 7th Ward along one of our canals. We look to the EPA's Environmental Justice Government to Government grant to revive an idea found from unselected proposals years ago to install GI at lift stations in neighborhoods throughout the city. The DOT included viaducts of stormwater drainage infrastructure as an eligible facility, defined as transportation facility that creates a barrier to community activity, including barriers to mobility, access, and economic development due to grade separations and other design factors, giving us the opportunity to seek funding for a study to identify project opportunities such as the successful pedestrian connections over the St. Louis Canal to the Lafitte Greenway, and participate in reviving secluded areas of the city. The open canals that we have delineate many of the underserved neighborhoods, and we're currently collaborating on a Gentilly Resilience District project to enhance pedestrian connectivity and use over the Dwyer Canal in the Pontilly neighborhood, and we use that as kind of an inspiration. For this year's application to EPA's Healthy and Resilient Gulf, we're partnering with 5 different community organizations to weave together strengths throughout the stormwater field. We're combining our need for funding of extensive canal cleaning with GI installations and outreach efforts from Groundwork NOLA, Healthy Community Services, SOL, Sustaining Our Urban Landscape, Urban Conservancy, and Greenlight New Orleans. The Trust Building and Environmental Support Initiative was completed this year after monitoring of a trash boom installed and trees planted along our Florida Canal in collaboration again with our Healthy Community Services partner. Dr. Chalk and I will be giving a case study presentation on that work together at the River Network's River Rally program in Michigan.
I have a question. The proposals that were not selected, have we requested feedback on
Yeah,
why?
we had a debriefing on the government to government one that made it all the way through to the final evaluation. It was a mix between they'd like to see more breakdown on the budget, which was a little harder to describe because for us it would be a public bid sub-award situation, but good feedback, of course. And then it was a mix between, some panelists, they really liked the idea and thought it was well hashed out, and then other people thought it
wasn't.
happen. Yeah, exactly. So they did like the idea, which means that scope of work will stay on my list of things to look for as we get better at grant writing.
Another
Yes.
question. What is our purview here, and what is with the city? Because, for example, we've rebuilt all these roads without much demonstration of any kind of green infrastructure. Is that our responsibility, or is that the city's responsibility, or is there any collaboration? It's another question.
As I understand it, especially in the JRR projects, since they were only qualified to do the street reconstruction based on what was damaged after Katrina, they don't accept or fund green infrastructure to go along with it. And I think that's a problem with a lot of our, federally funded infrastructure things where they don't like to fund GI on top of it, and they definitely don't fund maintenance for it.
But they don't preclude us from adding green infrastructure components, assuming we assume the
Assuming we-
cost.
But would that be
Cost,
the
yes.
sewage and water board's cost, or would that be up to the city? Because, I mean, most of these things are just totally city-owned.
Yeah, so it has been more the city's role in terms of funding. So kind of a blessing in terms of having two agencies pushing green infrastructure. Ultimately, I'd like that be our mission because it's drainage related and taking that responsibility away from the city with their collaboration. What's putting them in more like in the front seat today is that they have a huge grant that is designed to help build large scale green infrastructure. So we're letting that project move forward with the I think three large projects.
For Gentile resilience?
There's the city's building 3 projects, aren't they?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah. So once they're done with that, we're hoping to take over that responsibility, so it would be under our purview.
And do we have any kind of plan as to where we want our resources to go, or is it ad hoc? I mean, do we have an area we're focused on, or, a type of infrastructure, anything like that? It seems kind of,
Everywhere.
I guess ad hoc is a word I would.
Well, green infrastructure, the menu is long and we size it. It's either a pond, it's either permeable surface, could be given it's predicated on the footprint that we're dealing with, whether it's a pond, whether we're acquiring new land, whether we're redoing a street and allowing us to.
I mean,
But do we have a plan?
so
No,
ideally.
not yet.
Ideally, there would be a drainage master plan, and green infrastructure would be a specific
that's coming.
part of that, right?
That's coming, yeah.
Right, but I think that is, you're asking all the right questions,
Yes.
right? Because right now, and tell me if I'm wrong, we've had very small pots of funding, right, that are about to expire, right? We have $80,000 left, is that right? So those projects have been done very much in collaboration with community partners, with nonprofits that are doing work. But they have not been built into from a systems perspective, into kind of the sewage and water board and what we're doing. And that's when it starts working, is when, it becomes part of what we're doing explicitly.
Right.
Projects that they've looked at to build out to be replicable was one of the ideas in there, and that the best example of that is how the Nora stormwater lots came to be, and they have a pretty consistent design, planting palette, and maintenance needs, so that they can replicate everywhere. But for our jurisdiction, which is so linear and different, I think there is an opportunity to figure out what type of GI that would fit best with our drainage master plan and have that as an easier guiding source. My only thought was, we have opportunity at our lift stations. I always look for the most area that we could plant a tree, per se. But I would be very interested in.
So, Grace, thank you so much. That was really, really, really helpful. I was thinking about the challenge of the metrics, because if we're saying we're doing demonstration projects, if we've invested in these projects, we're not, like, the pictures are beautiful, but we're not seeing what happens when it's raining and when it's flooding, and how do those projects hold up? And then you mentioned something about one project having a nice impact on the community. I can't remember which one it is. What does that mean?
For us, the Holly Grove project, since it's been rehabbed and there's actually shade structure, we're seeing the residents use it.
Okay.
And therefore that.
So those are metrics,
Yeah.
and those are things, even if you can't put exact numbers on it, first of all, we could take pictures, and have it more, because right now we sort of have the pictures of the projects, but there are no people in any of those pictures, right? So if you're saying the community is using it, let's show that the community is using it. And also, how do they hold up in a rainstorm? Can we get out there when it's raining, and is it working? And I know there are more technical ways of establishing when it's working, but I'm thinking from a public-facing, perspective,
Being there in
for
person is the
people who
best.
live in communities, that this is when we were developing our mortar plan, one of the biggest questions is, what is it going to do for me?
Mhm.
Like, is it going to help me? Is it going to help my flooding in my community and stuff? So I would just encourage those kinds of, they sound soft, but they can go a long way,
Mhm.
In terms of validating
Yeah.
the investment.
I had a question. I think we don't, but do we plant the trees in the neutral grounds?
Do we plant trees in neutral grounds? In collaboration with Parks and Parkways where applicable.
There are multiple efforts by other agencies as well that trying to obviously increase the tree canopy in the city. So there's multiple efforts happening.
They're planting trees so you can't see traffic coming. I mean, they put the tree close to the corner so you can't see the traffic
Oh.
coming. I mean, it's just,
What
Well,
the,
there's a heavy permitting process with the Department of
Heavy.
Transportation as well. But
I know the process. I'm telling you, put the trees so you can't see the traffic coming. It's just so, we shouldn't do that.
yes, that's
For
clearly.
what
a
it's worth,
problem.
it's 27,500 gallons per acre, inch acre.
Okay.
So something that absorbs 750,000 gallons is, 275,000 gallons is gonna reduce by an inch, 10 acres worth of rain. I mean, that's not the way to say it, but there's a graphic that would show that.
Exactly. And, and again, it's all about, the point is that these are demonstrating something. And so I feel like we've spent many years, like, getting the money and then building the demonstration projects,
Mhm.
but not coming back and saying, okay, this is what they're demonstrating.
yeah.
Right.
So I think
they
that's
do.
a story to tell,
Mhm.
right? And it's
Yeah.
both from a very technical side and then also from, like, how are people using it and what are people's perceptions of it? How do
Yeah, the
people in those
education
communities
phase.
feel about it?
And whoever's putting the trees, where they're blocking the right of way.
And
I mean,
they're
that's so
blocking
stupid.
it.
Beyond belief.
Janet?
Who's funding the maintenance, because these things need to be replanted, trimmed, et cetera.
We fund the maintenance of the sites that we have direct jurisdiction over, and also one of the points is to create these projects is the easily maintained as possible, so that you like the Holly Grove project. I take advantage of our mow and blow crew, our maintenance crew that can keep the site very clean. And then anytime that I need to pull weeds or replant or freshen up mulch, I have relationships with nonprofits, or I go out there myself occasionally and do it. Get some nice, fresh air and sun.
The neighborhood associations are good partners for that.
Yes,
We
they
partner
will.
with Parks and Parkways to do a lot of stuff in my neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah, Tyler's students are also doing a project in our neighborhood, so Tulane's a great resource as well.
So lots of people doing green infrastructure as workforce development that have crews that will come do pro bono labor.
That's great.
My last slide was just talking about next steps, and I feel like we kind of jumped into that. I did have a little blurb on the Gentilly Resilience District, just that big grant that Gaston was talking about is a NDRC, a National Disaster Resilience Competition that the city won $141 million to create those Gentilly Resilience District projects, which they are currently getting underway in 3 of them, I believe. Stephen Yang and myself represent the board on the Resilience Design Review Committee, so we have a good understanding of those projects and are always in the know about them. And then I just had an extensive list of all the other people that we like to work with, but we don't need to go over those. But I'll hand that over to Gaston to talk about
Thank you.
funding.
Thank you, Grace. So just a couple quick comments, maybe, and an answer to some of the questions. I mean, when it comes to green infrastructure approach, is a proven method, nationwide, that it's truly has become a tool to combat flooding across the nation. And while we don't have an exact measurement to your question, anecdotally, if you just simply look at those areas during a rain event, the amount of water that is being retained is water that is not in the street or in somebody's porch or in the system, actually competing for space and inundating an overwhelmed system already. So this is a very small baby step, quite honestly. This doesn't amount to, it's not making a difference in terms of overall mitigation of water. It's not, but you got to start somewhere. It's
Right.
$2.5 million. That's not a lot of investment. And maybe once this city is complete their projects, and then we'll talk about the funding and the future funding mechanism that will be steered toward, not just the great infrastructure improvements, because we all know that there's a huge gap, right? But then there needs to be an allocated funds to green infrastructure as an added layer of protection for our city. I mean, there's no question that it is a much needed approach to increase capacity in the city. So,
Which would be a side benefit of the drainage fee. If we give
I mean,
bonuses for
that's our
permeable
hope, is that one of
space.
our biggest arguments is that there's not only funding needed for investing and improving the gray infrastructure, but also to add
Yeah.
funding for the green infrastructure. So my favorite term in this space is capture water where it falls. And if we adopt that, so that you bring then property owners to creating small rain gardens, rain barrels, even it's very, very minute on its own, but when you cumulatively add,
Right.
50,000 rain barrels and 50,000 rain gardens, then you're talking about an impact collectively, right? And so we're doing the same and looking for that footprint, that real estate that we can enjoy and build it. So And-
One of the things I think that I like about this conversation was talking about how to practically demonstrate what this means to people. Because to be quite frank, it feels so esoteric, and it feels so removed from everyday problems. But I think we need to be intentional about helping people understand, what does this actually mean. The other thing is that we should be intentional about how we partner with communities. Like, I've been asking for a long, long time, how do I move forward with cisterns in my neighborhood? Specifically, Treme had a project where we were funding cisterns, but that didn't seem to move to other areas of the historic corridor for whatever reason. And I think even if we can't take the lead in saying, work with us as private homeowners and say, here's an inventory of how you can continue to support us in this process, that will be something that the willing could do. I'm a willing. And that's be something that people can actually figure out how they're individually making a difference, and they're working with the agency to make a difference. So that really speaks to that whole, like, it's pretty, but I just don't know that everybody's getting how this matters.
Outreach and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and following up on that, one of the things that I've kind of thought as a homeowner was that we could make our streets really beautiful by planting trees which absorb water. But if people, you also have the question of what happens with the root systems and the underground infrastructure. So if there were just information even online about what is a good kind of tree to plant, that would, or we got that kind of word out, that would help on that.
No, there's
or
definitely
even
metrics between that.
or the kind of trees that does not conflict with sites. I mean,
Parks and Parkways
Yeah,
has
I
a
mean,
list.
imagine.
taller trees, like maybe top heavy, but then no.
So it's the bushes that are the problem.
That's true.
These are trees on it.
Okay.
There's one thing, Yolanda, this is something maybe you can look into. When the water board came into existence, they made cisterns illegal. I remember reading that somewhere over the past however many years. So we need to make sure cisterns are in fact legal, and if they're not, get them made legal. Because they're mosquito hazards, can be. And that can be handled. But can you find that out?
Sure.
There was a working group a couple years ago that looked into it, and they're legal. You just have to have a screen on them so the mosquitoes can't get in to breed.
That makes sense.
Which is a big part of Greenlight NOLA's education process. When they, when you get a free rain barrel installed on your property, you're given this beautiful guide of all of that kind of historical information, where it came to be, and what your metrics are, and where they're at. They do a really good job at that.
I wonder when they changed it. Do you know?
They've always been legal to a certain extent for
Rainwater.
watering. There's the plumbing code differentiated between the large scale cisterns that were used for drinking water in the 1800s and the sort of rain barrels
sense,
that are
yeah.
used for
makes
just
sense.
collecting rainwater for watering plants.
And we'll be coming to you with the update on the plumbing committee soon, and so we'll make sure we cover that, and make sure Ann Wilson, our
Sounds
environment
like Cal
chair.
already knows the answer. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And we can give
Cops aren't going to come shut you
Yeah,
down for your
you know.
rain barrel, Coco.
Huh?
The cops aren't going to come shut you down for your rain barrel.
Oh, they got bigger fish to fry.
let's look at funding,
Yeah, I mean,
fun topics.
again, a couple more comments just for the sake of the committee. Something to acknowledge that the city has adopted the complete street concept, which really brings a different perspective on how you design a street, not just from transportation perspective and changing the hierarchy, whether it's pedestrians, bicyclists, motors and the like, but also allows opportunity for green infrastructure to be considered each and every time you're tearing up a street. What can we do to layer on and create an opportunity, amenities, and improvement that would definitely that's happening in many other cities. We're probably a little bit behind, but the first thing that we're doing in the GSO has started an initiative of assessing what's available in terms of the real estate that belongs to us, meaning the city, that we have access to, whether it's neutral ground, parks, what have you, and then what can be done and how much water can we capture. Is it the first inch of rain? That would be like a very significant and measurable improvement in terms of, and where can we do that work. So that's probably the first key step of recognizing that there are opportunities, and then start partnering with the city, Parks and Parkway, and what have you, to again layer on, either projects or just taking on real estate and just improve on it. So it's been done other places, and you create not only a stormwater management tool, but also destinations like we did at Bayou St. John. It's a beautiful space, inviting to the neighbors. So
I mean, it almost sounds like there's a service, almost revenue generating that Sewage and Water Board could offer to other entities that are landowners. And I don't like that's a whole concept that's maybe a little weird, but at the same time, like, this is our technical expertise.
Well, that relationship will exist or will come organically with the stormwater fee once it's
Okay.
established.
So,
because
yeah.
while the fee is predicated on your hard surface on your property, then you can control how much hard surface you may have, whether it's driveways, and then and you create an incentive and you give people credit for the work that they. So that's kind of funding it indirectly, but then also reducing the amount of flow into our system. So just quickly, I mean, you've seen and heard all of this before, but just to kind of highlight the fact that we have 3 different systems. Sewer and water get their own, based on ratepayers and user fee, and then the drainage is predicated on millage. It's fairly fixed amount, and it, as we've demonstrated many times before, it can even keep up with the gray infrastructure as it is. It allows us to kind of maintain it and operate it, but really no real investment in terms of capital investment. And the little money that we have after maintenance and operation goes into CELA payments for a lot of large scale and meaningful projects that have been very impactful in the city. So clearly we have a funding gap as it is, but then you start thinking green infrastructure and the cost implications of that. It makes a much bigger case and for the need for changing the way we bring revenue. And the way it is now, as all of you probably know, that not everybody contributes in taxes. There's a lot of exempt properties. While there are 7% exempt properties across the city, that amounts to about 40% in value. So that's why we're really missing out on in terms of folks contributing to the service that they're already receiving from the Sewage and Water Board in the city, in terms of taking on the runoff and conveying it and pumping it out, and they pay nothing. So there's definitely something wrong with that structure, and the only way to bring more equity and fairness and additional revenue is to create a fee-based revenue that would be predicated on how much a property contributes in terms of runoff. So we're set out to to start making that case to our public, to our customers, the city council, who will be the most in terms of influencing where that goes, and whether it happens. So,
Would there be a fee on a vacant lot?
if it, yes, I mean, every property will have some kind of, so if it's a vacant
Still an
lot and
owner.
there's grass, there'll be probably minimal, if anything, but if any hard surface on that.
Nobody gets zero though.
There's no zero, because even grass at one point, it gets saturated and becomes like hard surface, and it
Does that make sense?
creates runoff. Yeah. Obviously, as we look at the drainage fee and our focus area, the minor system that belongs currently to the city definitely should be brought under our tent and moved over, but that should only happen under the effort, the overall effort of creating a drainage fee. Without it, really, we're inheriting a responsibility with no funding, and there's no way we can do anything different than what the city is doing. So it is broke, and we can't fix it without additional funding. So that conversation is is happening, and there's a collective agreement that it should all come to us. But then we're making the point that can only come to us if there's a new funding mechanism that supports it, so we can do it right.
What is the estimated cost of maintaining that system per year?
Well, we're relying on a report that folks at the city DPW came up with in terms of what it would take them to manage it the way they need to manage it, and it was around $20 million a year in terms of have a maintenance cycle touching. There's 72,000 catch basins. If you want to touch, one basin or every basin once every 5 years, once every 2 years, that obviously decides or drives the costs. But 20 is a placeholder for now in terms of what it would take in designated funding to do that. Just that, the maintenance of the catch basins and the laterals, nothing to do with capital investment in terms of right sizing or upsizing the pipes that currently.
But that
exist.
handles the laterals too. That was the question. I think that's what you said.
Yeah. At least the
So that means-
jetting of the cleaning of those from compacted soils and
Right.
so.
Mardi Gras bees.
I mean, Mardi Gras beads impact small areas. I mean, along the parade, but the city is much larger
Yeah.
and has
No.
independent issues. Obviously, with the green infrastructure, that's would demonstrate that it should be and will be one of the items that the drainage fee will fund, but it also will be paired with a workforce development piece, because it allows a lot of opportunities in terms of maintenance that we spoke about of our own investment, as well as private, like say you build a rain garden, that's an opportunity for a small company to come and maintain it for you. And then the more you build, the more opportunities that will become reality for many small businesses in the city. So it's very organic and nothing concocted about it. It's an actual proven model, that opportunity that comes with the green infrastructure. Obviously, a main portion of our system is the pumps and canals, and that would require, as we've demonstrated repeatedly before, that we need a lot of funding for those to be either repaired and right size and what have you. And then the power master plan, while we're finishing phase 1, there's many other phases that continue that have to be executed as well. We talked about all this, nothing new, but just kind of marrying the green infrastructure with the stormwater fee being the primary source of funding. And obviously there are a lot of grant opportunities that are out there that we're pursuing. So that concludes our presentation.
Janet?
I have one other question, thought. In terms of individual actions, has LSU Ag School or anybody done instructions for how to do a private rain garden?
Yeah,
How
there's
about
a few,
Urban Conservancy?
there's a few different things, and actually the more tangible one here, Green Man Dan is a smaller company that he specializes in stormwater management. He's installed and maintained a few of our sites over the years. He created kind of a kit where you could tell him the square size that you'd like to put down, and he would deliver all of that and then offer either to show you or install it yourself. I'm not sure if LSU has put in exactly a guide to that, but I'm sure.
I guess my thought was maybe we should have something on our website with what individuals can do.
Yeah,
and-
absolutely.
And guidance for how to go about it, because saves people need to know what the sources are, what the
Yeah.
parameters.
And there's so like Urban Conservancy with their front yard initiative is a big one for that, where it does have to be your front yard and you have to be taking up concrete, but they work with you for whatever size you're looking at. Greenlight NOLA is a great one for the rain barrels because that's all individual
I
level.
think it's confusing for people,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't know the names of these.
I know.
We have this huge opportunity where we have customers, and we can provide like a resource for our customers that might be
Okay.
appreciated by our
Yeah, I'm
customers,
not
right?
gonna go look at Green Conservancy.
Yeah.
Well, exactly,
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
you can't. But it may point you to programs that you can take advantage of that other organizations are doing. But I think what's really hard is to kind of, yes, there actually are a lot of resources out there, like tons. But it's really confusing to kind of work my way through.
Yep.
And there's some that have subsidies and, and are more affordable. And then there's kind of the contractors like Green Mandiana and folks who know how to do it. So it's kind of like, this is part of us taking the lead, is kind of putting it out there, what's available to our customers, so that even if we're not the ones doing that stuff, we're then making it easier for them to do it.
Especially on our new portal that we have
Yeah.
access to. That'd
None
be
of these
great.
other organizations have access to our customers directly,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
so being collaborative, and then, when we go out and we do meetings, this can become part of it, and we can invite partners to, to come. Tyler, do you have anything to add? You've been uncharacteristically quiet on this very topic.
Yeah, I think that, I think no one would be shocked to know that I think that we need to be doing more of this. And I think that what's unique about the Green Infrastructure Program is that we've been able to spend $2.5 million over 10 years to develop, 12 projects and, fund educational programs and things like that. It's not every day that this board gets to make that kind of impact on our community at such a low price relatively.
Yeah.
Usually we're talking about projects in the hundreds of millions of dollars for a single project. And in my experience, the folks who have been participants in those programs are actually kind of, to some extent, our only promoters in the community. I've seen this process take people who were, negative about the Sewage and Water Board and make them our best friends. And I think that that's something that we need to consider, that part of our reintroduction to the community is also about what we can do to improve our community through projects that are also impactful to our own system. And I think that's part of the deal that we have to make with the drainage fee, right? Is that, we're going to get the additional resources to fix the problems in our system, but that we can also fix the problems in your neighborhood through this really impactful community work that has not typically been part of what we do, but there's no reason why it can't be.
Are we going to have a presence at the New Orleans Spring Garden Show?
The New Orleans Spring Garden Show on the 6th and 7th,
Yeah.
We could, but we're participating in the Mud Fest that Louisiana Children's Museum puts on. We're a part of their Living with Water curriculum. And
Okay.
it's
Same weekend.
it's the same weekend.
Well, but again,
Idea.
yeah. To our point, like again, Jen and I both garden, so we're partial. But if we can't figure it out, and we are
Oh yeah,
active and we like actually doing
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
It just, I can imagine somebody that's just not, like, gardening isn't their favorite thing, or like trying to sort it out. And so I really, really think that this is a way to build goodwill and to move our project forward. And like, it really comes together. I like what Tyler's talking about. Like, this is a win all the way around.
I wonder if we could, since we're about to spend, is there a plan for that last 80,000?
It's all allocated under
all
the
allocated.
open, yeah,
Okay.
projects, yeah.
So I wonder if we could have sort of a celebration and, you know, basically say 10 years, however many projects. I mean, the city's just getting rolling with their 3 projects, and they've had money for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think the extent, so maybe our projects are tiny, but they're constructed.
Yes.
Yes.
And and we hope they're demonstrating success, right?
Yeah.
So if we can kind of put together a celebration and kind of put it out there, that timing might be really nice with stormwater fee, and something super positive to report. And I think that's why I wanted to hear this, because my instinct, Kyle and I have talked about this, is that this is public facing. This is good news. This is reporting progress and partnerships, and we should be out there more.
And we would consider putting maybe an insert in the bill,
A note for
or
that.
our water quality report,
Thanks.
where we can have a resource and a page showing all the resources and kind of diagram it for people, so it's much.
I'm picturing
easier to
like a
follow.
map, and there's
Yeah.
like a day where people can like go around and either bike around or drive around, whatever, and visit the sites, and our partners would talk about, we'd be at the sites. I mean, I'm really thinking like a celebration would be great.
Kind of treasure hunt.
It'll take you all
Look
day.
for the water.
On the lower ninth ward all the way to the depths of Algiers, so it'll be a long bike ride.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So is there anything else before we go on to our next topic?
The only thing I was thinking about is, I know, what was it, 4 years ago, we partnered with Knopf on the Every Drop Makes a Difference campaign that kind of, due to funding issues, never really continued. But I know that website still exists,
Oh,
and we
interesting.
partially funded it. And I wonder to what extent we could take it
You
back
want it?
from
Okay.
the foundation and integrate it into our own website, because I think, to Dr. Scholas and Director Howard's points, like about there was a lot of resources on there about sort of self-help and what's available. It's a good clearinghouse. Like, I think it's there. We could just sort of pick it up and shove it in our
it needs its own
website
page, yeah.
and elevate it,
Mm-hmm.
since that work was already done.
I love that.
Great. Okay, so thank you so much, Grace, for that, and we will look forward to maybe hearing from you at future meetings
Yeah.
with some updates. Okay, so now what we've been doing at this meeting for a while now is having a communications report, just because our communications are becoming more and more strategic, which I think thanks to Grace and everybody. So we're going to have an update, and then Grace, the extent to which I know you were taking a lot of notes. You know, you have some thinking about the green infrastructure piece and how to tie it in
Absolutely.
to communications. That would
This
be
was a
great.
great meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to give a little shout out to the people who participated in the presentation to the committee on which
Oh, my
Poco's,
goodness, yes.
is serving, because I thought the presentation by the Sewage and Water Board was excellent.
Yes.
Well organized, really hit the points, had great slides, and
Thank you.
that would not have, that is communication progress, so.
Yes,
just
absolutely.
Congratulations.
That visual storytelling. Thank you all, directors, for having us back here. This is our first strategy committee of 2024. I can't even believe we're in March already. As you all have seen, and if you need a refresher, happy to send around again the 3 years communications plan that we developed last year. It really highlights our key department functions, knowing that we always have plenty to react to in the department. This roadmap of our efforts really ranges from internal communications to media relations to crisis communications to construction communications now. And our department covers a lot of ground and supports many of the major initiatives in our utility. Our North Stars are to earn trust and improve the morale among our own staff and leadership. Establish the Ojai Water Board as a timely and transparent, trustworthy source of information. We all know that we need to improve our reputation and build trust within our community, educate our customers on key projects, foster and nurture relationships with the city and state elected officials to support our funding needs. So all these plans are really in line also with our 5-year strategic plan that we go by in all our decisions. From this, we developed a blueprint, 3 main objectives, again, building on that trust building and improving the morale, establishing us as that timely and trustworthy source, and to improve our reputation in the community. We've got here strategies and tactics that help us along the way. I'd like to highlight some from 2023. In addition to Sierra Labat, we hired Alice Noel. She's really helping with our construction communications, our maintenance escalations, and taking our social media really to the next level. We've developed various outreach plans to support different milestones in the smart metering program, and will continue to do so. And we also have supported outreach efforts for customer service. PFAS updates coming up, lead and copper rule revisions are on the horizon. And just a shout out to these 2 ladies and their community meetings. As Director Barnes always says, that's kind of where the magic happens, when we get to talk to the community directly. We've got under our belts over 40 smart metering meetings already in 2023 and 2024. So each of these communications plans craft a tailored messaging for the different audiences. And as we continue this effort, it allows for more successful communications and allowing us to get into community, as the mayor always says, to meet the customers where they are. We've hosted internal events related to our financial stability and a discovery session to kind of understand the pulse of our organization, and even talks about our branding. We developed and distributed branded materials and identity guidelines to work towards a cohesive look on all those materials. And I think, to your point, Director Howard, that has paid off in dividends as we see these presentations moving forward. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the saltwater intrusion. You know, again, we always have to pivot to the unexpected in this department. You know, that took up a lot of bandwidth and time, and really became a model for different dashboards that our utility is developing. The pumping and power dashboard, which has been very successful, and then there'll be a smart metering installation dashboard as well that is coming up. So as we look to 2024, just a snapshot, we've got 2 positions that we're going to fill in the communications department this year. We hope to host even more internal and external events. March alone already has 14 public meetings on our calendar. We're going to collaborate more closely with our customer service department and our HR department. And we have a plan to actively pitch more stories to share our successes. And we already have a high-level content calendar to help us get there. So based on this 3-year plan, we made an action plan. This is impossibly small to read and very intimidating. I'm happy to share this with you as well, but it really is sort of our monthly look at where we are and where we need to go. For each month, we also have key events and council meetings. Again, I can share this with you all via email if you'd like, but it really helps our department stay focused. We know we have some monthly tasks that we always have under our belts: the pipeliner, the social media. We have a customer advisory committee that Director Anthrop helped us form when he was an employee here. We continue those. The board meeting support, city council meetings when they request us there. We also do a quarterly report for them. The media requests that come in every day. The construction communications, especially as it relates to the transmission main projects we've got going on, neighborhood and community meetings, and also media events, all on our docket. As I mentioned, some of those quarterly tasks, in addition to the council reports that we send every quarter, we've got the external newsletter. We also have been meeting with city council staff to brief them on different initiatives. And we also hope to develop an external newsletter this year, just to tell our customers the successes and the directions that we're going. So far this year, I know these are not comparative to AOC's social media metrics, but we are trying to get and have made progress in getting some new followers on our social media pages, as well as the web page visits. The Pumping and Power dashboard and status has really earned us a lot of new followers and new attention. That Pumping and Power dashboard is ranked number 10 on our website since its launch, over 6,500 views and 3,700 visitors. And there's also a 2.0 coming very soon. For our smart metering, we are going to do a photo opportunity soon with the historic lids that we've developed. You have in front of you too a press release that we hope to get out the door today in advance of the customer feedback meeting for the task force. We've got continuous use notices going out to customers, so when we detect continuous usage on their smart metering via our data and before the port is available, we can then let customers know if we're seeing a problem on their property before we do an actual read. And then we've got a series of videos that I'd like to share with you. One of them, this is sort of what our customers might expect from us for the smart metering install.
The Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans is replacing its nearly 140,000 water meters with smart meters. This is an industry-proven, modern technology that will revolutionize how we track water use and generate bills. Here's what to expect during your meter installation. An installer will arrive at your home or business in a clearly marked vehicle and uniform. If you are a commercial or multifamily use customer, we will complete the install at a time that works best for you and your business. The installer will knock on your door upon arrival to request approval to move forward. If you need us to reschedule, the installer will work with you to find a better time. If you are a residential customer, you do not need to be home when we change your meter. The installer will not need to enter your home. The installer will knock on your door to see if you're home. If so, they'll ask you to stop using water during the install. Then they'll get to work. If you're not home, they'll go ahead and check if your water is currently in use. If your water is in use, the installer will come back another time to upgrade your meter. We should not have to turn off your water if it is in use. If your water is not in use, the installer can move forward with the upgrade. They'll briefly turn off your water to complete the install. Afterwards, they'll turn it back on and flush an outside spigot before they leave if one is available. For residential customers, this can take about 15 to 30 minutes. It may take longer for commercial customers, but we'll do our best to let you know what to expect when the installer arrives. Before leaving, the installer will leave a door hanger to let you know they completed your meter upgrade. On this door hanger, you'll find instructions on flushing your pipes to remove any particles that may have been knocked loose during the install. You now have a smart meter. Once your meter is installed, please do not lift the meter cover to avoid damaging the equipment. Later this year, you will gain access to a customer portal with modern account tools that can empower you to manage your water use. So here's a quick recap. Make sure to check your mail for notifications from us. Look for proper ID and uniforms when the installer comes to your home. The installer will never ask to enter your home. Residential customers should expect to be without water for 15 to 30 minutes for the install. And you do not need to be present for your installation. Thank you for your patience as we modernize our utility for you. Learn more by visiting the website on your screen.
Thank you, Tanya. We know that with social media and TikTok and all the rest, that attention spans are short. And so these videos can be condensed down for the different formats, but we thought it was important to, at least have a base for all the information to get out there. And if anyone has any feedback, we're so happy to hear it, implement it.
Do we have any testimonials from customers that have already had the install and then they say how great the process was for them?
Yeah, so, and I'm sorry that Becca isn't here. She's always so helpful in these, but they have been really intentional and following that customer journey on the first meters that are installed. So they have sort of addressed issues that might have happened if people feel like their yard is a bit messy, or during the installs, I understand, sometimes the equipment is so, or the infrastructure is so aged that there's breaks that happen. So we have taken those lessons and kind of adjusted our time expectations and such like that. But yeah, we really are listening to our customers and hearing the impacts from them. And a lot of the content on the video have come from these questions and clarifications that customers wanted to get from us as the installs were happening. But
I just want to say really quickly, like the difference between like 4 to 5 years ago and the way that we would communicate with our customers. Like I remember when they would do this type of work, like when they would do a meter swap, they'd like bang on your door and like leave you like a slip that was like 30 times photocopied. You couldn't even read it. Like this is beyond night and day. It's so professional. It makes us look like we know what we're doing because we do. Like I just can't compliment you enough for developing this.
thank you. It feels like sometimes we're the utility of door hangers now, but
Right.
I do appreciate.
But even
what you're
like
saying, yes.
the door hanger that's developed for this is like professional and designed and you know has all of the correct information on it. Like it's huge.
Yeah, and thanks to the pandemic, I feel like no one used a QR code before, but now everyone is very
People are
familiar
used
with
to
them.
it,
So it really does help us with those touch points, bring people to expanded websites and videos to kind of explain the process to them. So thank you for that. Sorry. So we know that we can only tell our story so far. You know, we don't have as many social media followers as we would like. So we are going to partner with NOLA.com to help us get these messages and get this information out. It's going to include print ads, digital ads, advertorial, just one more way that we can execute these tactics. And our team is also preparing for a big French Quarter transmission main project. It's anticipated to happen in roughly a year from now after the Super Bowl. And we're in the process of drafting those materials and making sure that we talk to key elected officials, stakeholders, impacted residents, and businesses. For April and June, we've got coming up transmission main outreach continues. We're going to prep for hurricane season, work on those dashboard improvements we were talking about. We also want to host a listening tour with our internal and external audiences. As Director Barnes was saying, there is just so much elevated conversation about so many things that we're facing as a city. The drainage, we know we're going to hear from folks about their billing concerns. We know that smart metering is on the horizon, but to Dr. Scholas's point, what are we listening to and hearing from these customers as they go through this journey now? We're also going to implement a customer sentiment survey because we don't know where we're going if we don't know where we are, to gather baseline data to measure those successes moving forward. Into April and June, backflow education. We know that this is pool season for folks. Our General Superintendent Office now has a whole backflow prevention program in-house. So we continue to communicate those initiatives. As I was talking about, that was one of our first City Council staff meetings, because I know that those communications are going out, and we'll just keep supporting those efforts within that department. The smart metering messaging is going to be so important this year. As we talked about today, the green infrastructure education and the general drainage education. In June or late May, depending on where we fall this year, we've got our annual job fair, which is always so successful at the convention center. And we're going to support our legislative efforts with power complex tours and just make sure that our Louisiana delegation and really the whole legislative body as an entity has all the information that they need when it comes to our needs, especially as it relates to the capital outlay and the power complex. So we all know that we're doing a lot of things right, and we've heard from this board so much. Let's take the credit for it. This really feels like, you know, I know the ship takes a long time to turn, but it is a defining moment for us as a utility. We're breaking generational curses, and we're setting up infrastructure to be better, modern, sustainable, and resilient. The mayor has talked about a state of the utility that she wishes to give. We just nailed down a date yesterday with her staff. It'll be April 2nd, so look for that, save the date. We'll send it out this afternoon.
What's going to happen that day?
So she's going to give a state of our utility. I think it's going to be at the Port of New Orleans, it looks like. And similar to the presentation that Ghassan gave at the task force, just to kind of give everyone a baseline of our utility and also to share some recent successes and also upcoming priorities. But to tack on to that, we came up, through these internal staff meetings when I talked a little bit about those branding conversations we were having, this idea that we're working towards better. And this rallying cry that we sort of crafted with that 125 years ago, Sewage and Water Board embarked on a bold journey to make our beloved New Orleans possible. Today we're faced with another great challenge, earning trust back, respect from the people, the community we serve, strengthening our infrastructure, and to be resilient for the next generation. Now, the mayor's going to say that much more eloquently than I just did, but this idea that we know that we are not where we want to be as a utility, but every day we're working towards better.
Well, I wouldn't say we made New Orleans possible. It was possible well before the Sewage and Water Board. It was here.
Well, don't you think, don't we drain some of the neighborhoods that maybe wouldn't have been, the drainage conversation is so
Improved it.
interesting
We
to
didn't make
me.
it possible. I mean, you
We
can't
make
convince me.
life possible in this city.
Right.
It was possible before the Water Board.
Poca, you couldn't live here now.
No, people were dying.
Standard of
Lived without air
quality.
conditioning
were
again.
dying.
Never got that.
No, I
And due to the
appreciate
sewage
the
We
and water
haven't had a
board, the city
major
was able to
cholera
expand.
outbreak since we've existed,
Well,
so,
it's cholera and malaria with the
yeah, and yellow fever.
They were rough. It was a public health thing that made
Just
this
a
happen.
very quick comment.
Needs an adjective
Is
there.
there any way to have it someplace more accessible than the Port of New Orleans?
Oh, thank you for saying that. Absolutely, we can.
I mean, I just think
yeah.
like people that you can't park there. You
Yeah.
have to pay money to park there.
Sure.
It's
No, we
just
can
not,
look at other venues with an auditorium. Maybe the museum, NOMA, is that big enough? Anyway, we'll thank you
whatever it
for
is,
that.
just someplace where like real people can actually go.
Absolutely.
Because I just think otherwise it just, I don't know who's going to come,
Right.
but I can like picture the demographics of who's going to come to the Port of New Orleans
Yeah.
versus
No,
someplace else.
thank you. We will definitely revisit that location.
Okay.
I appreciate that. So the infrastructure progress or our proof points, a lot of the drinking water monetization efforts that we've done, as far as it relates to our power supply, the smart metering, the backflow that I talked about, the new lead and copper rule revisions that are forthcoming, the improvements we've made in plumbing and house connections, and then our future water quality master plan, which will speak to the water purification efforts. We just want to be really clear about all these benefits to our customers, be very straightforward and fact-based, how we're improving the quality of life for visitors and residents to our city. So, did I do that?
You're done.
Oh no, that was the best part. Anyway,
Working in the
It's still
back.
showing back there.
Oh, yeah.
there we go. So, working off the idea of the working towards better, this is an example of that NOLA.com partnership that we're going to enjoy. A modern meter is an empowered customer, and just the blurb about installing the smart meters that give you near real-time accurate insight of your water usage. And these are just mock-ups. We look forward to working with this committee on there we are, on flushing that out. And I think this is one more video, Tanya, if you guys have.
I like the flushing it out.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
It's flushing it out as
And
opposed
thank you, fleshing it out. This would be a mock-up too of just an ad that would appear on NOLA.com that is a bit eye-catching, just to make sure that we're hitting all the points. That customer confidence report that we had talked about, and thank you guys so much for those green infrastructure talking points that we'll be sure to add in that. I mean, that has really expanded that booklet into so much great editorial content. And so I'll send a list out to this committee of the ideas that we have, and any that you want to add on, we would be more than happy to. And it just talks a little bit about how we're going to go on the rest of the year, and a virtual tour facilities, which I'll be working with the other Grace on, which I think is so great. Don't forget that WEFTEC is coming up this year. That's going to be right around the time that the lead and copper ruling deadlines are going to hit. So we'll have our first look at the public lead line inventory then, a real ramp up to that French Quarter transmission main project. We always do an end of the year review, which translates into a state of the utility for the next year. We anticipate that half our smart meters will be installed by this time, and a celebration of the power complex nearing its home stretch. Sorry that was so rushed. Speaking of media, Gassan does have a radio interview just here in a few minutes, but I am here for the next 20 to answer any questions or take any comments that you might have.
Janet?
Grace, I think it's just a wonderful plan you've outlined, especially for the points that are set out as your guidelines. One of my issues has been, though, that the original plan that was adopted 3 years ago, as I recall, really didn't address our media relations to the extent I think that it needs to be, and legislated. And I really think we need to develop some kind of proactive media campaign if we're going to change a conversation about things. So
Yes.
I think what's been done is wonderful, and but just suggest adding that to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you need a formal change of your plan or what.
Well, it's certainly a living document, and the mock-ups that we did of the working towards better, the modern meters, is that the kind of campaign that you're talking about, or more of like an editorial board
I'm
conversation?
talking about the conversations that
Yeah.
need to be, proactive conversations that need to be held with the media when we have issues coming up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
And
part of it
updates
is, yeah, so I know, Grace, you have been thinking a little bit about this in terms of what consultants we're using and
Yes.
things like that.
Yes, we we have a great partnership with HGR, but that is coming to a sunset at the beginning of next year. So we will be going out for proposal a good 6 months before that, and yeah, we'll see what else is out there.
What's quorum?
Hmm?
Well, how much is a quorum? I gotta go.
How much?
I was just saying, I need to
Coco's
leave. I
gotta
don't want
go.
to break the
Okay,
quorum.
yeah. No, I think
There's
we're,
no action items, so.
yeah, there are no action
No
items.
action.
So
Except to
these
adjourn,
are, except to adjourn.
We'll do that anyway.
We just do a quorum.
I
mean,
think
you
we
have
have
three.
quorum.
You have
We have
quorum.
quorum. We're good
I'm
if you have to
sorry,
leave.
I gotta
That's
meet
okay.
somebody at noon.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Um,
It's a great, it looks great. I mean, communication stuff's unbelievable compared to what it was.
Yeah,
Like
it really
system
is.
versus new
Yeah.
system.
And I think, unfortunately, Renee's not here, but I think she would be the one to talk about the legislative
Yeah.
piece as
Okay.
well. So maybe
Oh,
like,
okay.
maybe that could be at our next strategy committee meeting. we
There's a
could talk-
governance committee meeting tomorrow.
Oh,
and
and
that's
there's governance.
And that's actually going to be on
Okay.
the agenda tomorrow. Governance tomorrow after finance and administration. Okay.
Just have to do with communications. I guess that's what.
She's
I'm-
saying some of the legislative.
legislative
The
Priorities
legislative
and
subpoena, yes,
communication.
yeah, your legislative piece will be, yes.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But in any case, at the
Thank you,
next
Grace.
strategy meeting, I think we can like use that time to talk about media relations and.
Yeah, and I'm
And maybe
available to you all
legislative, too.
anytime. So thank you again for letting me come and present.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Great. Okay, well, is there any public comment?
There are no public comments, Chair.
Okay. If there are no other matters, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Okay.
the motion carries. We are